Hey, Mark Brown.
What's up?
It's time to smoke one.
Welcome to another episode of the Bear's Den. I am Mark Brown, the Black Bear, and we have the Lone Wolf, and we have producer B.
Producer B. Producer B.
How's it hanging, everybody? How's it
Producer B.
hanging?
It's hanging pretty low. How's it hanging for you?
It's hanging pretty high today.
Producer B should be feeling good. He has a birthday coming up.
I know, man.
He was telling us how he's going to be popping bottles and all kind of crazy
All
stuff.
kinds of crazy stuff, man. He's getting ready to go to the club. That's how it always starts off.
What you got planned for your birthday, man?
Well, the owner of the club up here, he's a good buddy of mine. He gave me a booth, so we will be getting there around 6 o'clock tomorrow and staying till 2. So it's going to be a great night.
8 hours.
And,
Oh my God.
I got to put the whole shift in, man. This is a full shift, no breaks.
First of all, it's not a booth. It's like a table. You don't want to like.
No,
We're
it's
getting a
Mike.
booth. We're getting.
I'm gonna send you a picture.
It's a booth. No, it's a booth. It's a legit.
Are they going to have sparklers? Are they going to bring the sparklers out?
They better. It's my birthday.
I got a funny story about the whole bottle service thing, right? So, listen. So the first time I experienced bottle services is when I was my rookie year in the NFL with the New York Jets, right? So I'm coming out of college, whatever. We get to the club. My man's like, "Hey, man," my team is like, "Let's get a bottle." I'm like, "All right, let's get a bottle, whatever. I'll split it with you." And he's like, "Yeah, we'll get it. We'll split it, whatever. It's a bottle of vodka, bottle of Grey Goose, whatever, right?" So I'm like, "Yeah, cool. We'll split it, blah, blah, blah." Mind you, I'm fresh out of college, right? We get the bill at the end of the night. It's like 800. I'm like, whoa. You added a zero. It's supposed to be 80. And he's like, "Nah, man, this is bottle service." I was like, "Okay."
It's like absolutely, this is wrong. This is absolutely not gonna happen. That's what's gonna happen to you, Producer B. So don't order too many bottles.
Yeah, don't start feeling yourself trying to impress the women.
Yeah,
you know?
because then
when that bill come, them girls gonna scatter
quick,
like roaches.
gotta go. See ya.
Never been
Bob-
that guy. Never been
Bob,
that guy.
never been that guy, huh? Oh, well, I'll tell you what. One of the things that we're talking about on today's show, Mark Brown had another good one.
Oh yeah, man. We're gonna talk about our experiences with cannabis and alcohol, any other vice that we might have personally come across, right?
So, Producer B, pay attention based on your birthday.
Absolutely.
Some older guys are about to teach you some lessons right now.
Sure.
So, I'm gonna let Mark start.
So
Just
I was sitting around thinking about it, and I might have been partaking in some cannabis. I might have, had a nightly smoke, whatever. And I was thinking about when was the first time I was introduced to cannabis, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I started thinking about, I was like, man, or even alcohol. I was like, when I was younger and I lived in Paterson, New Jersey, my aunt, my mother's sister, she was addicted to drugs, right? She was addicted to crack, right? And I remember as a kid vaguely the smell of marijuana, right? And then as I got older, like maybe 13, 14, it was familiar to me. When I first got it, started smoking myself, right? It was familiar to me. And I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, I wonder what Mike's first experience was with it, or, and how that has changed over time. Did you take a long time off? Do you still do it? How much you do, whatever, whatever you want to add to the conversation. And also Producer B, because Producer B is he's in the storm right now. He's in the middle he's 21 years old, about to be 22, right, Producer B?
That's correct. Yep. Birthday
About
coming
to be
up.
22. When I was 22, my hair was on fire.
I'm more than double his age.
Hey, we didn't talk about that.
More than double his age.
But yeah, man, like, what was your first experience with whatever?
I grew up in the islands. I
Yeah,
grew up in
yeah.
St. Croix, so I came out of the womb smelling it.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
The doctor was probably smoking a blunt when you came out.
No, it's funny, man. Like when you said, marijuana and alcohol, I was like, I mean, where I'm from, the legal age for that stuff is 18, right? So, here it's 21, so that means that you guys start drinking at what age? 18?
Yeah, 14, 15.
For us, it was a lot younger.
Uh-huh.
It was different. Like we were, we weren't, we were never in a place where we weren't taught how to deal with the stuff responsibly, right? So I guess that's part of it. I mean, come on, man. Like, down the street from my house, there was they made, the best rum in the Caribbean, right? And that's what we sold, and that was our export. I mean, you go to the Caribbean, you go there for their rum. And we actually, just being that it was that age, I mean, I started bartending when I was 16 years old.
Yeah. And it's interesting you say that starting at an earlier age helped you to be a little more responsible with it, right?
I think so.
That makes me think about, like, you have kids go to college. When you first to college, I can do whatever I want to do. So you might overindulge, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to, like, if your parents wanted to introduce alcohol, whatever, to you when you're younger, I've already been there, done that.
Yeah.
I have a little more experience. But a lot of parents, I don't know myself, I don't know how you would deal with your kids. A lot of parents think that that's a bad thing. And I think it's an age dynamic and a culture thing. Like, where you're from, like you said, you're from the island, so it's more accepted.
Mm-hmm.
Me, I have those conversations with myself. Like, what would I say if my kids said they wanted to smoke marijuana, right? How would I? Because I'm gonna be a hypocrite if I say you can't do that, because I do it, right? So how do I address that? Like, how would you, if your daughter, what do you think the appropriate age would be to experiment? Or would
experiment what?
Just marijuana in general, or anything, marijuana, alcohol. What do you think the appropriate age for a child to be introduced to that?
I don't think
personally.
I mean, I don't know if I don't think it's an age thing. I don't think it's like, Johnny, you're now 16 years old.
Now you're a man.
Time to roll up a joint and smoke one.
Yeah.
I think a child's experience is going to be a child's experience, right? Teenage years, right? And they're going to do what they're going to do, regardless.
Absolutely.
All right? So I think the best thing you can do is equip them with the knowledge of, right?
Yeah.
I think that's all that there is. You can do as a parent. I don't think you want to be a helicopter parent and be, you don't want to do that. Blah, blah. No, I'm not going to do that. What I am going to do, though, is I am going to hip them to, what happens when you drink, what happens when you smoke. Here's what you need to think about. Here's what I'd like you to do if you feel like you've drank too much. I'd like you to call me.
Yeah.
No matter what.
I'd rather you call me to get in the car. And,
yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it's a lot better that way. So I think those are things that I want to instill on my children.
Okay.
I don't think I want to indulge with them.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I was thinking that
That's
I
not my
wouldn't
thing.
sit around and smoke with you. Maybe like when you're older, but it's not one of
I don't even think I do that. Like, I have a son. He's 28 years old, 27, 28, believe it or not. And I remember one time he knows that I smoke. He came over to my house and he was like, "Dad, do you have any weed?" No, I had a whole bunch.
Not for you. I get all this is for me.
Absolutely. Now it's different if Mark comes over like, "Dude, you got any weed?" Absolutely.
Yeah.
I got, pick it up.
Yeah.
My son? No, dude. Like, absolutely not. Go away. Kick rocks.
That parent child
I don't
dynamic.
ever want, I'm not your friend.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if we're talking about our kids, right? I want to get down to the meat of the time, but if we're talking about our kids, no, we're not your friends, and they shouldn't be introduced to it with you. You should hip them to what the effects are and make sure that they're responsible, right? You're going to make the decision that you want to make, and I'm entrusting you to make the right decision.
Yeah.
Right?
All I can do is give you the tools to make the right decision.
And the right decision is, obviously, at your age, I'd prefer if you didn't until you are responsible enough. But if you did decide, the other right decision I'd like you to make is realizing that you did do something that you drank too much, and you shouldn't do something like get behind the wheel of a car.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. You got to give them the right tools.
Get into an altercation. Decide to sleep over at somebody's house. We don't do none of that.
Yeah.
You call me, and we'll deal with that after.
Producer B, do your parents? I wonder what your relationship with your parents is like, concerning like alcohol, whatever. Do they know that you have experienced that, or whatever, experimented with it before, or how was it introduced to you?
Yeah, definitely. They know about it. It wasn't introduced to them.
They know about it. All right.
Well, let me see your eyes.
My parents do not really drink or smoke like that. They're pretty much, sober as it gets when it comes to that. But they'll enjoy like a glass of wine every once in a while. I have a funny story actually. I remember one time we were having like a house party at my brother's house, and my dad doesn't drink, but when he drinks, he likes to drink stuff that doesn't taste like alcohol, so like fruity type drinks, right? And then maybe the occasional beer. So I poured him up like a glass of like Four Loko, and I just put it in a red Solo cup, and I gave it to him, and he didn't know what it was, and he's like, "Oh, I really like this stuff." And it was.
What is Four Loko, by the way?
Oh, Mike, when I come to Atlanta, I'll show you what Four Loko is.
What do you know what it is, Mark? He doesn't know what it is either. You got to tell us.
You know what Four Loko is?
No, what is it?
it's like a tall boy, but it's in a can, and it's like an energy drink mixed with alcohol. So it's like
That sounds
14%.
horrible.
Oh
That
god,
sounds
it's terrible.
horrible.
It's terrible.
That makes me. It reminds me of.
Makes me queasy.
It reminds me of the first time I drank in college. Right, I'm not a big drinker, mind you, because for me, I would rather smoke because the next day I'm fine. Right,
Ready to go again.
When I drink, the next day is like, oh.
And now
God.
it's even worse.
Yeah,
right.
Because you're older, and it's like you don't recover as fast. But the first time I drank at college, right, I drank something. I think it's called Thunderbird. You ever heard of that? You ever heard of it?
But it just sounds like those are things you don't drink, though.
It was like a malt liquor, like $2, a big bottle in the grocery store. I went to a Kappa fraternity party. I drank 2 of those bottles, man. I was gone.
How did it taste?
It didn't taste like anything. It went down smooth. Or that even like remember Mad Dog 2020?
Yeah.
Oh, that is so bad. But I feel like those things are things they give the black culture. That, hey man, take this, is real cheap and drink it and whatever. But I drank both of those bottles. I went to the party and I got sick. Like I remember going back to my dorm, not having my key in the athletic dorm, so I fell asleep outside my door in my own vomit, face down. My dorm director said he came around the corner and he thought I was dead. Because I was
yo, wait, hold on a second. So you drank how much of that stuff?
Two bottles. Yeah.
How big was it?
It was like almost like a tall boy. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. And it's like malt liquor. You know what I mean? So it's not like a regular like Yeah. So like that was my.
How'd you feel the next day?
I was
Gone.
jammed. I couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
I couldn't do anything. Right. So, and speaking of alcohol and like culture, and I was just talking about how like I feel like African Americans and minorities, you drink cheaper stuff. I remember as a kid going back to my childhood experience with it. Right.
We do actually.
As a kid, my grandmother, I didn't know at the time, she would always have this drink and it was brown. I thought it was apple juice, right?
Yeah.
I mean, she would drink it by like the cups of it, just
Yeah.
But my grandmother's an alcoholic.
Okay.
And it was Jack Daniels, right? So as I got older, I was like, and I remember as a kid, she was drinking about a bottle. Like every day was a new bottle. I was like, and I would ask her, Grandma, can I have some? She's like, no, it's not for you, right?
Right.
So I think being introduced to that subconsciously, it opened me up to it. But like I said, I'm not a big drinker. Like right now, I don't drink. I don't drink. Like you gave me a bottle of tequila.
Yeah.
And
only was because it was fancy.
Yeah, it was fancy. And I told you, I said that bottle will probably be sitting there for 3 years.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Because I don't.
Yeah.
I just. It's
I'm the same way.
do. You know what I mean? I don't know. If
now you think it's because you've been around it in the fashion that you have? Because what I'm trying to figure out is if she was an alcoholic, for example, like you said, right? Mm-hmm. You were around that, right?
God rest her soul, Grandma.
God rest in peace, right? But it's normally said like the kids will pick that stuff up, right? Mm-hmm. Like what made you not? Do you think?
I think I saw things as a kid that I might not remember vividly. Yeah. That kind of fed into my subconscious, right?
What do you mean?
Just like maybe like she had remember she had boyfriends and they might have been abusive to her, right?
Yeah.
Or it got wild when they got drunk or whatever.
Yeah.
Or my mom left me over and she was watching me. I think there's things that I saw that I can't remember vividly right now. Yeah. But in my subconscious they're there. Yeah. You know what I mean? So like I never wanted to be like that, right?
Yeah.
I never wanted to like end up like that, basically.
Yeah.
My grandmother, she passed away last year. I think she was like 60-something. She was like 68, 69 years old.
Yeah.
Right?
Wow.
Had a lot of health issues.
Young.
Right. All my family, a lot of health issues. I saw my like I said before, my aunt was addicted to drugs, like no teeth in her mouth, like just stealing from family members.
Is that why you do what you do?
What's that?
Is that why you do half the stuff you do? Because you saw that? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Go up these mountains, like just try to. Like I know it's the hard shit, but is it that you saw that there was like a non-healthy shit going on?
I think so.
So like you don't decide to drink.
Yeah.
I mean you drink. Yeah. Like you and I go out.
We'll
we go out with the friends.
Yeah.
We'll have a cocktail.
Yeah, but we don't get drunk.
We don't get drunk.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that's a part of it because like I said, she's 69. I'm 40, about to be 42.
It's not
so you think 69? That's 27 years. Right
that's like the difference between me and Brendan.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think to myself, I don't want to end up like that, right? Yeah. And even myself, when I do smoke, there's times in my life where I think I'm smoking a little bit too much. Because like we always say,
I never think that. we'll get into that in a minute.
Too much of anything, I think, is you got to control yourself a little bit. When you start feeling stuff spiral, no, seriously, come on, man. But seriously, you feel sometimes you might not be as productive, or hey, maybe I need to take a break. You know what I mean? But
I went on that. Come on, man.
Yeah, I went
on a binge for a year. Well, not a binge, but I went on a abstinence binge for a year where I was just like, I'm not smoking. So I agree with you on that.
So while I do like to smoke now, I try to do it responsibly. I try to do it at night. You know what I mean? Where the kids aren't up. That's another thing. I don't want to walk around my house smelling like weed. I don't want my kids, it's like me. Like for me, going back to where when I was younger, I remember that smell, right?
Yeah.
So I try to do it responsibly, as responsibly as I can.
Yeah.
And then you have the whole dynamic of like society says, oh, you smoke dope. And I'm like, man, you dip, right? You do nicotine, right?
I don't even want to talk to those types of people.
But I'm just saying, nicotine, lip cancer.
Right.
Have you ever seen somebody's lip that does dip that's cancer?
Yeah.
Like the whole lip is gone.
Yeah.
Right?
There's a lot of hypocrisy with it, and I don't even listen to that. Right?
Yeah.
And it's interesting. Even with liquor too. I mean, listen, we talked about it the other day. I'll show you a study that says, you know what, having a glass of a liquor like a wine or a shot of tequila or something a day, it's actually good for you, right? There's studies that show that, right? And my wife follows that. 5:30 comes, like not before 5:30. Like if I go, Sarah, it's 5 o'clock, 5:30.
Yeah, 5:30.
5:30, she has a drink. I already told my wife she's going to live to 150, right? Because those are the type of people that follow those types of regimes that actually, you know what I'm saying? So there's goods about it, right? Obviously, when it becomes abusive, when it becomes too much, you run into problems, right? Health issues. I mean, listen, if you hear of somebody that dies from any kind of kidney disease from drinking liquor, they drank a lot of liquor.
Dude, I have a friend that I played with the Jets. He had kidney failure.
Yes.
Or liver failure.
Yes.
He had to have
not kidney. I'm sorry, liver.
Yeah,
sorry.
he had liver failure. He had to have a liver transplant at like 38 years old. That's how much he drank.
Oh,
yes.
my God.
And it is supposed to be, once again, I'm not a doctor, but from what I understand, like the liver's the one organ that can regenerate itself or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Like
Clone
you could pretty much, like, not saying that you're supposed to abuse it, but I mean, it can take, take a beating if you would. It's supposed to, right? So if you beat it to death, you know how much liquor you've drank?
A lot. You know what I mean?
And that's given a healthy person. You don't have any kind of liver disease or you weren't born with any kind of genetic disorders like you and I.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? For us to damage our liver from drinking, that's a lot of liquor.
Absolutely. And then you think about life, man. Life things happen that you might miss out on. Like, he has 2 daughters now.
Yeah.
That if he wouldn't have had that transplant, he wouldn't experience that.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, I remember he came to my house. We had a snowstorm in Atlanta probably 2 years ago. And he was snowed in Atlanta. I hadn't seen him in like 6 years, right? He had never met my boys.
Yeah.
And this was after he had his liver transplant. I hadn't seen him since then.
Yeah.
And I just remember the vivid picture of him pulling up in his Uber in the snow and him getting out the car. And man, I broke down crying. Like, you get to meet
seeing him?
Yeah, you get to meet my kids.
Yeah.
My second, I haven't seen you since then.
Yeah.
And it's just like, to me, I've never heard anybody having those kind of health issues smoking weed. Like, I never heard anybody having certain organ failures from smoking weed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Moderation, though.
Yeah.
Moderation.
Absolutely.
For everything.
Absolutely.
It's one of those things where, once again, a little bit, from a liquor perspective, there are things that you should look for, I think, right? When you're looking for, like, depending on what you're using it for. Like, right now in my life, I try to turn anything into a health benefit. And if it's not benefiting me health-wise, it's out, right? From a liquor perspective, you know what? I try to follow my wife. She'll have a cocktail. She'll make me one. There's some benefits for it. I try not to abuse it. I'm just like you. I'm not a big drinker. Some people are. You know what I mean? And some people, that does it for them, right? For me, I'm a
social drinker.
Me
like,
too.
If I'm out at the bar, I'll have a drink. Like, with me just sitting at home having a drink, I look at people that have a drink at home sitting socially, maybe how they look at me smoking weed. And it's all about what's for you is not for me, like I always say. What's for you is not for me.
I still think, though, that there's less benefit on the liquor side, although there is some, based on what you're drinking.
Yeah.
When you start going into brown liquor and stuff that breaks down into sugar, that's when you're running into a lot of issues. Not saying a lot of it doesn't, but there's when you look at like tequilas and scotches, less sugar content, right? When you get into things like I used to drink, like rum, you're just messing yourself up. Whiskeys and, rye and all that stuff, like that's sugar all day. That's jacking you up left and right, right? I can't do that.
Yeah.
My experience with that just kind of turned me off to that. There's no benefit to that, right? Personally, which is why I can't understand why that's legal and marijuana is not.
It blows my mind.
Right?
Blows my mind.
So, and you could judge anybody on marijuana, but you know what? There's great health benefits on the THC side too as well. Now there's pros and cons, right? So I've been a smoker for a while, and it has enhanced a couple things. And I'll tell you why I smoke. Right? A lot of people, you want to judge it, you could judge it. I'm just not some dude that just sits around. I also love to smoke, but I also like to. I like the benefits of it. I suffer from hypertension, right? As much as I work out and eat healthy and stuff like that, it's just something I got to deal with, right? Somebody turned me on to this one time. You should try pot. Talk about pot for high blood pressure. Because the doctor was giving me pills and it wasn't working, right? Like, was not working.
Yeah.
Pills had me all jacked up. Sex life was horrible because your shit don't work. All kinds of stuff, right? Like,
it ain't working.
No,
Get up.
Like, you think it's you and your wife thinks, so what's going on? It's like, I
Is
swear
it
to
me?
God,
Like,
me,
are you not
like,
attracted to me?
Everything,
Yeah.
right?
Oh my God.
And then, no, seriously. And then the minute I stopped taking those damn pills from the pharmaceuticals, whoa! Woke up one morning and it's like life was back.
Yeah,
right?
like, oh, wait.
But then I started trying pot. And what I noticed was, and I'll give you some, I don't care. I will challenge any medical doctor on this one particular thing that I've tested on myself. Let's say, for example, I took my blood pressure. It's 140 over 90 right now, right? I smoke some pot, right? The minute I smoke pot, yes, I'm going to get a slight increase in my blood pressure, but within 15 to 20 minutes after that, I will get a dramatic decrease in it. It'll go to probably about 110 over 70, right? Stay there all day, okay? Right? And that's no side effects.
Yeah.
Aside from, yes, you get high. But the body has to adapt, right? The minute you have adaptability, you got to smoke more to get that high. But I'm not trying to get the high. I'm trying to get my blood pressure right.
Yeah.
So all I need to do is smoke. My body's already adapted to the high. So it doesn't happen, right?
Yeah.
There's a high tolerance for sure.
So I have a higher tolerance. Now here's the con. Because I'm not going to say
said you have a high
I do.
tolerance.
Oh my God. It's me. No, there's Willie Nelson, there's Snoop Dogg, and then there's me.
I remember before you go. I remember you told me. You said, "Mark, you think I can smoke the Snoop?" I said, "Absolutely not." You were offended.
Yeah,
you were like, you're like, what?
The nerve.
Yeah.
But here's a con, right? So I did test this on myself. You remember, I went a year. I said somebody bet me $1,000. Like, you couldn't stop smoking for a year. I was like, I'll take that bet. And it's for charity, by the way. It wasn't $1,000 in my pocket. So I took the bet and I did it. One thing I noticed after you get off, blood pressure skyrockets.
Yeah.
It went back, right? Because my body's saying, like, bro, where's the thing that we had that would make us happy?
Yeah.
Where's the thing?
Yeah, where is it?
And it's like, and I'm like, no, we're not gonna have the thing. So it's like my son, like, my body starts to pitch a bitch, right? So it skyrockets, and then eventually it levels off, and I gotta, you know what I mean? I gotta figure out what I'm gonna do, exercise, diet, and bring it back down. Which I figured out a whole bunch of other things since then. But there's benefits to it too. So as people judge you, like you said, as people judge you, people should think about that, man. You know what I mean?
Speaking of the health benefits, man, like when I was in high school, I dibbled and dabbled, but I would never smoke during the season when I played football. Like, there was certain things I wouldn't do, right? And I drank a little bit. We used to go to field parties with the keg and all that stuff, doing keg stands in high school, get a big field, whatever. Some country shit. But it was one of those things that it was a part of the experience. It was like, it was, having fun. But when I got to college, they would test you randomly. So in college, I never smoked weed. In college, because, you can get your scholarship taken away, blah, blah, blah. I didn't get reintroduced into weed, going to your point about health benefits, until I got to the NFL, right?
Yeah.
A lot of guys in the NFL smoke weed, right?
Yep.
When I was in the NFL, you got tested one time a year, and it was before training camp. After that test, they never tested you again.
Yeah.
So what you would have to do is you would have to not smoke in the off season, whatever. And then when you went back for report for spring training camp, whatever, they usually would test you. After that,
all you need is 30 days.
After that, you would be good.
Yeah.
And to your 30 days thing, a lot of guys used to dabble in cocaine when I was in the NFL.
Yeah.
Because coke gets out of your system like in 6 or 7 days.
Yeah, I'm straight.
So you don't have to worry about like, oh, I'm gonna fail a test, 2 weeks later because it's gone. But like for me, the health benefits, a lot of guys smoke weed in the NFL because you have pain. It's a good pain reliever.
Yeah, it is.
Right?
Yeah.
And people have anxiety. There's, like you said, a lot of benefits to it.
Cancer patients.
I got something to say about that, the anxiety portion.
Yeah, here we go. Yeah.
No, I'm gonna tell, because you guys are popping off over here about how weed is like beneficial and stuff, but there are some cons that like are really not talked about, especially as I look around me and freaking dispensaries, obviously, are popping up like liquor stores, and it's like the new thing, and it's great, and they can advertise.
I love them.
So do I.
Sweet dirt.
Sweet dirt, yeah. You know
Shout
all about
out.
sweet dirt. Shout out, shameless plug to Sweet Dirt.
We're coming
But
back.
I started smoking like when I was like 14, and I was cool with it for about 2 years. But as you know, that smoking weed, if you're a developing teenager, you got all that stuff going on, hormones. It don't mess with you, dude. And I remember this one time that I was smoking, and I was high. I was sitting next to my best buddy from high school in the basement, and this idiot looks over at me as I'm like smacked out of my mind. and he goes, "What happens after you die?" And I remember that being like everything around me just slowed down to a halt, like literally everything, and my ears just started ringing, and I was like, "Holy shit!" And ever since that day, my experience with weed has not been the same. It totally screwed me up for a while, like my mental health and everything, and I had to really work to get that like be back to normal. Because dude, when you're tripping out and somebody poses like the question that nobody has the answer to, you know, and I was young and a teenager, and I just had a lot of stuff going on, and it totally fucked me up. But
I can
I'm
see
good
that.
now. But it can be dangerous. So I don't think it's as friendly as most people want to say it is.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's the other thing that we didn't talk about, right? Is like the experience of like the freak out, those freak out type experiences. I mean,
a bad high. Yeah.
Have you ever had one?
Yeah, absolutely.
What was yours like?
I was I threw my brains up. I was throwing up like ridiculously, like just
From pot?
from pot. Like,
So was it laced?
I don't know what it was. I got
Was
really
it a dab or like just pot?
No, it was regular pot. I got really sick, and I had to take a break. This was like my early adulthood years, like my 20s. And that's the only really bad experience I've ever had with pot. Like, now I've had bad experiences with other things, like psychedelic things I tried in high school, which was acid or like mushrooms. But anything other than that, no, I really haven't had too many bad experiences with it.
I had man, I tell you, I never forget this. I will never forget this. When Super Bowl was in Atlanta, not recently, but the last time prior, it was like, I can't remember. But all I remember is we had an ice storm.
It was like
Atlanta.
a 2000,
Yeah,
something like that. Yeah,
something like that, right?
Yeah. The Rams and the Titans were playing.
Something like that, right? I don't remember much of it, but I'll tell you why. I
was
remember
just
I had to work. I had to work late that night. Went home. One of my boys was like, "Man, I got some good weed. I left it at your house. There's a guy in the neighborhood. It's in your mailbox."
Yeah.
All right, cool. Thanks. Got home. All right. Yeah, it's been a long day. I just want to smoke and just relax, go to sleep. All right. Never forget. It was snowing outside, ice, everything.
Yep.
I smoked, and I don't know what happened. All I remember was I smoked. And next thing you know, I'm in my boxers, on my deck, pacing back and forth in ice, walking, pacing on a sheet of ice, just in my boxers, right?
Barefoot?
Barefoot, no shoes on. And I was just like, I just need to not be this high right now. I just can't, right?
Fucking Wim Hof over here.
Bro,
the real Iceman.
I swear, man. And then the funny part about it is after everything came down, my neighbor was like, hit me on the text and was like, "Did I see you on your porch last night walking back and forth?" No, it wasn't me. I don't know what you're talking. I just want to saw somebody on the porch for like an hour walking back and forth. No, it wasn't me. And I hit the guy. I was like, "What was in that thing?" He was like, "No, it was just a certain type of strain. I can't remember what it was. I know I never ordered that strain ever again. But I would never, ever, you know what I mean? That trip out moment, I think I stopped for a while after that. And then I got reintroduced. That's when I started understanding, when you look at marijuana, you kind of look at it like wine, right? There's different strains, and the strains do different things, you know? Like, for example, my strain that I use, like, I just don't smoke pot for blood pressure. It's a certain type of strain of the plant that I have to go after that gives me that effect. Because if I smoke anything, it doesn't really have the effect. It might have like a small effect, but there's one specific one that brings it down, like dramatically every time. You know what I mean? That's my benefit from it.
Absolutely.
But anything else outside of that, like, now I know the strains to stay away from. Like, you know, I don't do certain gummies. I don't do certain Gorilla Glues. You know, things like that.
Now, I've seen people have bad experiences smoking weed. Like,
horrible.
Like, a mutual friend of ours lives in California. I had some edibles. I had like a candy bar. And he ate all of it. All of it. Just kept popping it. You know, when you do that, if you've never done it before, and you do too much, like, he's eating, and we go out to a bar. It's like we're watching the game during the day on Sunday, whatever. It's in California. And he goes to the parking lot, and I'm sitting there watching the game. Somebody comes in and is like, "Hey, man, you might want to go outside. Your man is messed." I go outside, and he is like I'm like, you okay?
Gone
Like,
two
you having a
shades to the
heart
wind.
attack? Like, what's
Gone
wrong?
2 shades to the wind.
Yeah. I'm like, he's like, I gotta go to the hospital. I'm like, what did you do?
Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you about
But
that. For
that
me,
goes to say, man, you need to be whatever you put into your body. You need to know what you're putting into your body.
very true,
right?
and where it's coming from.
Yeah, and where it's coming from, because you can't do all this fentanyl stuff and all that stuff. Like,
Yeah,
I know people that do that, socially do cocaine, that party and do cocaine. I would never do that. Like,
yeah,
the fact that I might risk my life,
yeah.
it's not to me getting high and having a 15-minute high, an hour high is not worth it. Not worth it at all, right? Not to down them, but it's just my personal preference. I would never do
It's
it.
addicting. It's very addicting.
Yeah.
They always say that it's the gateway drug too, like weed and alcohol. You believe that? Do you think that's the case?
No, I don't think so. That was one thing too with me. See, my family members struggling with addiction. I was always a little bit cautious, thinking like genetic is something like these are gonna go from weed to crack and back to heroin, because like you don't know until you're in it. It's like right. So I always had a hesitation, but now I'm just like, man. Even my wife, she'd be like, if I was for like 2 weeks, she'd be like, I'm a little bit irritable. You might want to smoke.
Another side effect.
Yeah.
Another side effect because your brain is kind of
Your body is
craving it, right? It's needing that homeostasis. But I do think though that sometimes, I was listening to a doctor just recently talk about should patients take a baby aspirin, right? And he said, it's kind of like risk reward, right? And that's how I look at smoking pot for me. Like it's a risk where risk versus reward type factor. Like what are the benefits, risk benefits, I should say, better to better describe it. Like the risk for me is obviously if I'm off of it, increased anxiety, which somebody would say, well, you need to figure out how to control that. Well, in the interim, I got something that'll help that's natural.
Real quick.
Okay?
Yeah.
Well, you're just running away from your problems. Well, no, I'm not really running away. I know that there's a problem, right? And I'm dealing with it, but maybe no. I mean, he's laughing at me. Brendan's laughing, but maybe that's my way of dealing with the problem in my type of way. I'm not running from it, right? A lot of times, man, like for me, this is just my experience, my human experience. Like I got 10 billion things going on in my brain, right? And all of them are looking for that one attention, that piece of attention from me. Like, you need to do this, you need to do this. What are you going to do? A lot of times, man, when I smoke, it just quiets all that shit. We're just going to do this right now.
Absolutely. You're focused.
Right?
Hyper-focused.
Yeah. And for some people, it doesn't work. Some people, it's something else. Like they may need Adderall or whatever. For me, this is one thing that it helps. It helps blood pressure, and it helps kind of like calm everything. It kind of brings everything to woof. You know what I mean? Which is probably why my blood pressure's so out of whack, because I'm trying to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Try to do everything.
Yeah.
But the minute I come center focus, I'm there, man. Like how many times, like, let's just be honest. The marathons that we did, right? I did a marathon, stoned out of my mind.
Absolutely. We both did.
And beat and whooped some friends' butts that were way ahead of us.
Yeah.
I got focused in, and that's all I did. And
you told me another thing I didn't, because you've done a lot more research. You were like, it helps with your pain receptors, right?
Yep, it does.
Like, it almost you can go a little bit further, a little bit longer, right?
You know what I mean?
And I've been interested. I've done some research on athletes and endurance athletes that do THC. They might hit the pen or something, and it helps them a lot when they're recovery at nighttime. It's a lot of benefits to it, right? It's a lot of benefits to it.
Another con that I will say is, they've always said that although you think, because one thing that people will say, especially if you smoke weed for the first time, right? Like I had the best night's sleep of my life. Brendan, did you experience that when you went to sleep?
Yeah. No, when I used to like fall asleep listening to like old school hip hop, and I would just be spinning, and it would be a great time. But it's like a good spin. It's like,
but surprisingly enough, a lot of reports have said that actually is the opposite. That you don't get a good night's sleep when you have THC in your system, right? That you don't. Right. They said that apparently you don't get into REM sleep, which is where most of the good stuff happens. A lot of repair and all that stuff for your body. That you don't get enough REM if you barely get into REM. One thing I noticed about when you do get off of it, right? I don't dream when I am smoking.
Yeah.
I don't have any dreams.
Yeah.
If I don't smoke for a while, or like that year that I quit, the first month and a half, I had the weirdest dreams ever.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
That's what I heard. I hear that.
Your brain probably changes your brain activity.
I'll go a step even further. I'll fuck y'all up even worse. Right? Now, what's even worse is when you stop smoking weed. You're male, especially if you're male. I don't care how old you are. You feel like you're 13 again. You start having wet dreams.
Oh.
For real.
Yeah.
Like, it's weird.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? I woke up a couple times.
I pissed myself.
I had to sneak out the bed and not tell my wife what happened. Like, it just happened. And it's like, it's not. And keep in mind, these are things that I tested on myself. And then I go back and I go, does this happen really? And then you find out, like, yeah, it happens to people all the time. Mm-hmm. Right? But this is multiple times. Like, because I go on these binges where I'm like, you know what? I'm just not going to smoke anymore. Yeah. I'm just going to stop for a while. Because one, you know, my tolerance is way too high. And, you know, I just need to reset. Right? And I'll just go on this binge of not smoking.
And my bank account is being drained.
And my bank account's being drained. And Mark Brown's over there like, come back to the dark side. I'm like, no, I'm not smoking. And during that time, I'm having like crazy dreams. Like, I had a dream that my wife and I rented an RV, right? The RV sprouted some wings. We flew to Alabama to an Alabama game, right? And the RV was just hovering over the stadium, and we went down a lot, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like a Disney movie.
Like, for real.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's, you know.
I feel like in a lot of times too, you can speak to this, Mike. It helps with your creativity.
My God.
If you listen to some rappers like Tupac, Biggie, all the whatever, they smoke a lot of weed, right?
Yeah.
And they always say, I write my best lyrics or rhyme this when I'm high. You know what I mean? When I smoke weed and my brain is if I ever smoke sometimes, like I'll just get so many ideas. You probably do this too. You get ideas, you write them down. There's so many. You get creative with it, right? And that's another benefit too. It's like your creativity is increased when you're smoking. You know, sometimes you might smoke a strand where you get sleepy or whatever, but like sometimes you'll smoke some stuff, and like to me, the mental part of it is appealing to me too. That's why another reason why I want to, you know, one day we talked about it before, try DMT, right?
Yeah,
smoking DMT. I want to try it.
I do want to try that.
Like Ken Ryder was on there talking about on the show one time talking about it's a life-changing experience.
Yeah,
that's I want to like, you know, I want to experience that.
I mean, it's I don't know why people frown upon stuff like that. You know, I mean, you got people that will get on Instagram and all. Listen, man, I get it, brother. You know, you're a Christian. Mm-hmm. You love God. Mm-hmm. I believe in a higher power, right? But you know, you can't say that in the same time. You got the dip in one hand, you putting it in your mouth, spitting it out in a can, right? Mm-hmm. You don't even know what's in it.
Yeah.
I could tell you what I'm smoking.
Yeah.
Right? And I could tell you where it was grown.
Absolutely.
You know? I can tell you who grew it.
Yeah.
And the dirt and the phosphorus and everything else in it. You can't tell me what's in that dip that you bought at that Shell gas station. Get out of here, man.
They'll look at you like, look at you, you dope smoker.
Get out of here.
While the dip's in your mouth.
Get out of here.
Hey, but you know, you should whatever somebody's doing, it's their personal decision, personal choice.
Right.
Like that's their choice.
Right.
Like don't judge somebody.
Right.
I'm not gonna judge you if you want to drink. I'm not gonna judge you if you want to dip. Don't judge me if I like to smoke.
Right.
Right. I think we live in a society where right now it's getting a little more acceptable. Like Brendan was talking about the dispensaries, right? They're popping up everywhere because now the government has found out how they can make money. By taxing the fuck out of people.
Well, you know, taxing, right? But they have to make up that tax because eventually, brother, I'm gonna tell you right now, people are gonna start finding out there are some benefits to this particular plant. There's tons of benefits. We're starting to find out. I mean, you can just look at the CBD world, which is another world you got to be careful in because people have realized that that's an entry into the THC world, if you would. But there are benefits on that side. There's just benefits on hemp, period, right? And pharmaceuticals or somebody needs to tax the shit out of people, right? Because they can no longer enter into that space. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can't give you this kind of medicine that I used to sell you because you could just grow a pot plant in your, in your yard.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
So I got to tax you for that. So there's a whole bunch of like that's a whole nother what you just brought up with the government, man.
Yeah.
You know, I just feel like there are benefits in that area. People shouldn't judge. And, you know, I think, and this isn't endorsing it for anybody. This isn't endorsing, I don't think children should,
Absolutely not, yeah.
I mean, I just think, you know, once you're an adult, that's an option. You know, if you're into drinking, drink responsibly. If you're smoking, smoke responsibly, right? Benefits on both sides. And then there are cons on both sides, obviously, if you do anything. But that's like, to your point, right? everything in moderation, right? It's still a controlled substance, and too much of it could still jack you up.
Yeah, absolutely could jack you up.
I'm trying to find out how much of it will jack you up so I can report back to everybody. Because I mean, that's another thing. I've come to appreciate it. I've come to appreciate the art of how people grow it. I've come to appreciate the art of how they infuse it with other strains and create a whole new strain that could create a whole new experience for somebody. You know what I mean? And it's all under the same umbrella. I mean, it's like crossbreeding, like, dogs or what have you, right? Not.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds kind of weird, but
yeah.
I mean, but truly, that's what it is. And you get different experiences from those different types of, things. You get the same thing from liquor, right? Clear liquor does damage for you differently than dark liquor does, right? Wine does it differently than.
Hey, look at speaking of wine. Look at wine. People go to wineries all the time. They go to wineries, have the experience. You have people wine tastings, all that stuff. And we have friends.
Listen, and to your point, wine, what's the word? A glass of wine a day is good for you. So people go, well, shit, if a glass of wine is good, then a bottle must be better. Yeah. That's not necessarily true. The sugar content in that alone is going to jack you up. You know what I'm saying?
We have a friend that, he is like a marijuana connoisseur. Like, different type of strands. He can tell you, you know what I mean?
It's amazing.
He loves it.
Yeah.
Like, he loves it, and it's a passion of his. And I feel like a lot of people, some people look at people like that, and they judge them like, oh, you're a pothead. No, this is what I like to do. I enjoy it.
Hey, listen, the kid is like a damn near scientist when it comes to it. Like, when I was talking to him about, like, how to grow it, and, like, he talks about, like, we didn't even talk about the smoking of it. We didn't really talk about the plant itself, like, unless it was talking about putting it in the soil. We talked about mainly the soil and the water and how you got to bring it in, and how you got to sunlight.
Why this region is so much better to grow it in this
over there, you know what I'm saying, and how the frost can affect it, and this, that, and the other. Like, there's a straight up science to it. Just like somebody could say there's a science to making meth too. I get it.
Breaking Bad.
Breaking Bad. Prove that point. I get that. I'm not saying appreciate the science of making meth. I'm just saying, like, when you sit down and you watch somebody do something and bring something to life that literally comes out of the earth. The science to meth is a whole bunch of, like, it's going to CVS and getting
chemicals.
You know what I mean? I'm talking about putting something in the dirt, putting some seeds out, and growing it. I mean, and you could talk about anything, but then finding out the benefits of it on several different accords, right? How it's helped several different people. There's nothing to it. The same guy we're talking about, one thing that he said to me recently, he said, I think everybody in this country or everybody in this world should do mushrooms at least one time, right? It should be a requirement. He goes, damn it, shit, let's start with this country. Make that a mandate, not this other shit. Make that a mandate.
Put some that in your body.
When you're 18, you got to do shrooms and get that experience.
Why did you say that? What was his reason behind saying everybody should do mushrooms?
He said that because he goes, it just brings you it just makes you kind of like find who you are, right? There's like all your inhibitions, everything goes away. Like everything gets stripped away from you, right? So I got intrigued by it. And I said, for real, like is that really how? He goes, yes, like you will laugh, you will cry, you will everything all in the same session. I was like, yeah, that's some bullshit.
Yeah.
Right? So I decided to try it. I decided to do, he goes, just make sure you're in a safe place. Then he freaked me out when he said that. Safe place? What are you talking about, safe place? Make sure you're in a place where you don't have like a not so great experience if it happens. If everybody's around, they can calm you down. Because it is, it is a psychedelic, right? And start slow. So I did, right? He gave me 3 grams. I said, how many? He said, start with 1 and give it about an hour. I did. Gave it an hour, didn't work. Thought he ripped me off, right? I took another gram.
Yeah.
I waited 30 minutes. I was like, and then I think I sent Mark Brown, and I might have sent, I don't know if I sent you a text. I said, this is bullshit. This isn't working. I'm going to take the whole thing.
And then 2 hours later.
And no, it wasn't through. I was like 20 minutes after I took that whole thing. I remember sitting down, and I think my phone went off. It was an alert. I think one of you guys sent me a text, and it came up blue on my phone. I said, that's the most beautiful blue I've ever seen in my life, right? Yeah. I said, holy smoke. And then I looked at my Christmas tree, and like, everything was beautiful all for a second. And I was happy. I couldn't be more. I was just in love and blah, blah, blah. And then I looked at a picture of my wife and I from our wedding that was hand-drawn. It's a hand-drawn portrait. And as I'm looking at this, I see my wife's hair aging. Like, her hair starts to turn gray, and I see my skin start to age. Yeah. And I go through this very sad moment. I start to cry and wanting to be like everything the husband, like, what her dad was. I want to be that man and blah, blah. Like, it's just like all that. And then I saw something on Instagram, and then I got mad, right? Yeah. I saw some women talking about something, right? I was like, why are you so mad? I got angry, right?
Yeah.
And then And then I saw something that was funny. And then I got a creative idea. 9 hours later.
You told me about that idea the other day, which was a great idea.
Right.
He'll never know it.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I came up with an idea, right? I came up with actually a couple ideas. I actually bought a couple domains, right? Some projects that I'm working on. All of this came out of this one thing, right? Here's the best part of my experience doing that. And this is why I think he said everybody should experience it, right? So I came out on the other end. And that day, after I went to bed, and it was like a 9-hour trip. Like I was up for 9 hours, right? I went to bed, and I woke up, and there was this really strange like blanket of peace, like this solace, right? Like everything was all good. You know what I'm saying? Like I was just super chill, and it lasted for like 2-3 days. You know what I mean? Like I was just like I haven't been so like good with everything. Like my son, like my kids came home and they, daddy and crying and this and that and the other and good. You know what I mean? Everything was all good.
Yeah.
And I hit him and I was like, I now understand what you meant by everybody needs to try
Gives
that.
you a different perspective.
100%.
Yeah.
Whatever the intention is going in when you're doing these things, I think is what really gives it the energy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I've heard it before where people say you need to set your intentions before doing mushrooms.
And I think
What was your intention, Mike?
mine, I honestly, I'm honestly at a place where I'm just searching. I'm like, what's the purpose, right? I'm at 50, close to, and it's just like, what's my purpose, man? Why am I here? Like, I know, and I do all these cool things. I mean, am I here to be a great dad? And I think what I got out of it is like, dude, you're here to do all of it. Because you just came up with all of it. You're here to laugh. You're here to cry. You're here to be a good husband. You're here to be a good dad. You're here to, be good friends. You're here to laugh. You're here to make fun of people. You're here to get angry. Be a fucking human being, man. And I think after you go and you let that shit marinate in and you wake up, I think that's where the peace is. And I think that stays with you because ever since I did that, I've been on this like, yo, I'm really good.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I hadn't, one of the things that I'm taking over the Black Bears Den today.
Go ahead.
One of the things that I always was trying to do with myself is just like be at this place where like I'm just like good with myself. Like I hadn't taken my blood pressure in a year, because I said I don't want to do stuff like that because it freaks me out to do shit like that, and I get so like anxious, and that's why I smoke pot. Like let's get off of that train, man. After I did the shrooms, I actually, what I did, had 2 days of straight chill. I actually said, you know what? I haven't taken it in a year. Let me take my blood pressure, see what it is. See what I'm doing just overall. My shit was like on nothing, like 113 over like 80.
Yeah.
Bro.
Yeah.
You kidding me? For me, that's a win, right? So it's like, that's what, to answer your question, Brendan, I got the answer of just be you, bro. Just enjoy your life, man.
Yeah, and more people had that perspective, we'd be in a lot better place, man. I always hear people joke around, man. If you want to make people get along better, let them smoke pot and be happy.
Ain't that the truth? Hence why your wife goes,
you might need to
go outside for a bit,
for
right?
for a little bit.
I'm gonna ask you this though. You talk about your boys, right? Their age right now. You enjoy doing that. They smell it. They smell you. What I mean, I'm starting to concern. Like I just say, like my daughter, but Daddy Stinky. I know what that means.
Yeah.
I know exactly what that means.
What you talking about? Yeah.
Right. How do you?
I do all kind of stuff. I've done all kind of crazy stuff, man. If I've smoked on the weekend, I'll get in the shower. You know what I mean? Just trying to wash it off. Because the one thing about marijuana, it is a very distinctive smell, and
it lingers, bro.
Yes. Like if you're out somewhere and you smell it, you know right away, man. Somebody, where's that?
Hello. What's up?
Yeah. So I try to be responsible like that. Like I'm not trying to be, smoking in front of my kids, and because I think that for me personally, I would set a bad example, right? Because they're not old enough yet to know that yes, Daddy might do this, but Daddy also knows that he's experienced this before. He knows when to do it, how to do it, and I've lived life, right? It's not it's not a toy, right? But I am conscious. I remember one time I told you the story. My boys, they came home. They were at the grocery store with my wife or whatever. And they were like, Mommy, I could hear them. They were like, Mommy, is Daddy home? And she was like, And they were like, oh, no, we smell him. And I was like, oh,
He's
man.
at home, we smell him?
Yeah, I was like, oh, man, I got it. Come on.
I get that. I've been getting that.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I got to be way more conscious now
Yeah.
of where I'm at or when I do it. You know what I mean? Generally at night.
Yeah, absolutely. Try to do it at night so I can be productive, right?
In bed. Well, they're in bed. Rush to the shower, whatever.
Yeah.
Or obviously, there's the other conversation is, and here's another I've been thinking about. This conversation went from like weed and alcohol to just weed. But I remember, a lot of people saying like, instead of smoking, ingest it. So there's gummies, there's all that stuff. I mean, I don't handle that stuff too well.
Yeah, me either.
And to the point, just so it's just not about me just doing it just to be recreational. Blah. I just like, I have done a lot of experiments and research on myself that I document. It's a little bit scary. The edibles don't have the same effect as when I smoke, right? Now, you will also combat with me, well, you're still, you still have the ability of, being carcinogenic because you're combusting whatever you're smoking. True, but then we get into the dry where it doesn't combust and all that stuff, right? Listen, man, I've done the research, right?
Yeah.
And some of the stuff, what works for you doesn't work. We're not stock cars. You know what I mean? I've tried the gummies. Like, it just doesn't, doesn't do it for me.
Or the vape pens and all that stuff, yeah.
Too hard on my throat, you know what I mean? Like, and on top of that, like,
it's a different high, too.
Listen, come on, man. And here's the bottom line. The plant is a plant. I know it came out of that dirt. It came out of that vase.
Yeah.
Where'd how'd you make that oil?
What's in that oil? What's in that cartridge?
The gummy, I saw one gummy the other day. It had red 40 in it, or red 60, or red 20, whatever it is. I'm like, man, I don't need to be eating that.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I totally get it.
I go right for the plant, man.
Yeah, I'm an OG smoker. I like the plant, man. I like the ritual of it.
And I actually like smoke. I like smelling the flower before you burn it. Like, I love smelling the flower, right? So this is really turning into
two potheads.
Notice how Brendan has
he's gone out of the conversation.
He's gone out of the conversation. But no, I mean, but to his point, right? And I'm gonna put him on the spot too as well, because you're not like you tried pot, you didn't like it, right? And you had to get something under control for your anxiety, so you decided to go what route? I'm gonna put you out there, bro.
Oh yeah, for sure. I don't give a shit. I ended up getting on Prozac, which is like a pharmaceutical SSRI. So it basically regulates the amount of serotonin that so it doesn't like basically flood your brain and then your receptors are completely depleted for a while. It just kind of regulates it so there's a constant flow instead of like a dump and then it's empty and it's waiting and you're depressed and anxious and all that. So I'm basically on it's the Prozac. So that's what I'm on, man. Everybody's got their own shit.
But he's on the toilet all the time. He's on the toilet all the time. I mean, once again, too much of much of one thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, his stomach is always jacked up. You know what I mean? And I keep telling him that.
Real.
Like, so I just think that, moderation, do your research, what works for you. And like I said, not all this stuff is bad. And if you really do find your sweet spot in this realm, I mean, when I say in this realm, I mean just with these things that
world of drugs.
No, it's not the realm. See, that's the thing, man. These things get such a bad rap.
We live in such a hypocritical society that I'll give you an example. For instance, like Vicodin, right? Vicodin is very addictive.
Yeah.
It's bad for your stomach lining. Yeah. It can mess you up.
Yeah.
You know they give out Vicodin in the NFL like it's Skittles,
yeah.
right? You don't even have to have a prescription if you're on an NFL team.
Yeah.
All you do is go down to the training room. Somebody want a Vicodin. They give you Vicodin, but you can't smoke weed. What? That doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
Or the profits, right?
Yeah.
You know what? The NFL can buy a whole bunch of Vicodin from whoever.
But then you have guys that retire from the NFL.
Not saying the NFL does that.
But I'm saying they retire from the NFL and they're addicted to Vicodin. Like you had Brett Favre, he said he was addicted to pain pills because you pop them like Skittles. I'm telling you, people would take pain pills like it was Skittles. You take a pain pill after practice, go into a meeting, watch film, and you go get some more and take them home.
What is it, though, about it? Is it like the pain pill that becomes addictive?
I think it's just whatever's in it, the substance in it. Like, it's like a
no,
but
is it really helping? Like, is it numbing? Like,
it numbs you.
Pain?
It numbs the pain. It takes the pain away.
But do people my question is, do people that are not do people that get over pain, do they still?
Yeah, they still want that feeling. Their brain wants that feeling.
They still pop the pill?
They still pop the pill. Yeah. You get
so it's a high.
It's a high.
So you get high.
You get high. Yeah, you get lightheaded a little bit.
Like I said, I don't know anything about it. I've not gone any further than shrooms.
No, you get lightheaded. You can tell it's definitely a high.
I've only done shrooms once, by the way. I've only gone.
Yeah, but like I said, we live in a hypocritical society where I feel like now it's starting to get a little bit more accessible, talking about dispensaries. There's a little more information out about it. You know, we still got people getting suspended or disqualified from the Olympics for smoking weed. We won't even get into that.
Yeah. Do you think? I mean, do you think is it a like?
Absolutely
it's not
not.
a performance enhancing. It should probably inhibit your performance more so than anything else, if depending on who you are.
Yeah.
For me, I think it enhances it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it doesn't even enhance it. Like when we go on long runs, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know what it does for me too, as well. It's not even the pain receptors. It brings me to here. Right?
Yeah, right here in this moment.
Because what I'm thinking about half the time, if we're on a long run, is I'm thinking about, shit, when is this shit going to be done?
Mm-hmm.
And that's all I'm thinking about. And we're only at mile 2.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But when I smoke, you shake. I mean, you're going to learn for your race that hopefully you're doing.
Yeah.
Talking to Brendan. But, you know, if I don't do that, I'm on a hamster wheel, right?
Mm-hmm.
The minute I take it, man, I'm talking to you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't give a shit how many we running on the road. Look at that house. That's a beautiful tree.
Your heartbeat.
You know, my heart. You know what I'm saying? But when I'm not on it, all I'm thinking about is I gotta finish. I gotta blah, blah, blah. I don't give a shit about any of that. I care. I know I'm in a race. I know I'm gonna execute, and I'll feel good. I feel good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You know the end result. Absolutely.
And I always end up coming out like, this is gangster, man. You know what I'm saying? I handle this shit like a champ.
Yeah.
You know?
This is a great conversation, man. Obviously, me and Michael could go on for days about this. But like I really enjoyed this conversation, man. We want to add to the conversation of it because like I said, it's becoming more accessible.
Yeah.
Right? And like we were saying, like the more you know about it, the better, more prepared you'll be when you experience it, right? It's all about having good experiences and setting your intentions.
And that's it. Until next time,
we out.
Smoke one. See ya.